Welcome to this free training on how to increase ACT math scores by 5 points or more using the simple three-step ACE the ACT system. This training is for you if you are a parent of a high school student who wants their child to earn the ACT score that's required to get into the college of their dreams. Perhaps you are a parent who is worried that your child is not getting the right support and math instruction at school in order to be prepared to earn those top ACT scores. Or you may just want them to reach even higher heights in math with additional support. This is for parents of student athletes who desire to play sports at the college level, but they haven't yet earned an ACT score high enough to secure NCAA eligibility and compete at the next level. This is for a parent who is prepared to invest time, energy, and effort to help your child achieve the required scores to qualify for both academic and athletic scholarships. And this is for parents who are looking for a clear and an actionable plan to help their child stay motivated and actually enjoy the process of preparing for the ACT. Now, in this training, you will learn three things. The three goals are: 1, how to become an expert in ACT exam directions, formatting, structure, time management, and more, so that your child can gain the confidence and a competitive advantage. You'll also learn how to implement the best strategies that aren't taught at school, to answer those most critical questions that secure the highest scores on the ACT math exam. And lastly, we're going to acquire key knowledge that enhances mastery of those core math skills that we know are assessed on every single ACT math test. But before we begin, let's pause right now and make an agreement. I promise that I am going to show you in this training exactly how to obtain the necessary skills and techniques in order for your child to improve their ACT math scores by 5 points or higher. Will you actually take action on what I share? Let's make an agreement right now that at the end of this training that you will take action on these 3 steps. So now that we agree on that, let's move forward. Now, you may be wondering why your child hasn't seen the progress that you want them to already. You may feel frustrated because you don't have the time yourself, or maybe the knowledge or patience to help your child. It may even seem that it's impossible to get them to get that goal score. You've tried things in the past, perhaps you've worked with a tutor, but it still didn't make a difference. I'm going to tell you why those problems seem to keep persisting, why those things exist, why you haven't seen the results that you desire so far. I'm going to tell you why. The first problem is choosing to rely only on the school teacher for preparation for the ACT exam. And I'll tell you why that is a problem. School teachers, although they are fabulous, they are restricted by the time they have, the amount of students they are required to engage with, and the curriculum itself. And you being a parent who is interested in taking your child further, you already have the mindset of the most successful people on the planet. Highly successful people know that they can't just rely on one perspective and one procedure to get the results that they need. Think about those highly successful people. They engage in specialists and coaches in order to train them in every aspect of their lives. If they have a goal in place, they reach out to those other experts and specialists in order to get the best outcome. Relying on just the school teacher would be just like those highly successful people only relying on themselves or just one other person and not seeking the perspective and the specialties of others. And so that is where the first problem lies. You don't want to put your fate and your goals just in the hands of one person and one perspective. You want to build a winning team of support. And so that's the first problem we see. The next problem is that you haven't surrounded your child with a winning environment. Winners create an environment around them that supports their winning. What you see here on the screen in this presentation is the New Zealand rugby team. They are the world's most successful sports team ever. And they are famous because they have amassed a track record that is unequaled by any other sporting team ever. In more than a century of playing, this team has won more than 3/4 of their 538 plus matches so far. They have a winning record of over 90% since their existence, over 90%. Their track record is often said that they remember their defeats more than their victories because they've had so many victories. Now, why would this New Zealand rugby team be able to get so much success? I mean, New Zealand's population only has 4.5 million people. Individually, these players are not the most successful players in the world individually. So why are they so successful? Because collectively they are surrounded by people with the same common goal. They have group synergy where they're working together to accomplish a similar task. And that environment allows them to be winners over and over and over again. And the last problem is that students and parents are relying on test prep books and free online resources. And while these books and these online websites are good tools and materials, they're not strategy. You're simply getting questions and answers, but you're not getting strategy. You're not getting coaching. And for these online resources, they're not even official ACT questions because it's illegal for them to release ACT questions. Only the test makers and its affiliates can release official questions. So you find yourself with a tool, and sometimes a tool that's not even valid, but beyond that, what you get from study books and these resources are merely the tools, no strategy, no coaching. So these are the three problems that you see and why you're not getting the results that you desire. Relying on the teacher, not having the winning environment, and then only utilizing tools, some ineffective, without strategy. So let me tell you a little bit about who I am. My name is Tori. I have over 15 years of experience in teaching and tutoring high school mathematics as a national board certified math teacher. I am also an ACT certified educator, and in 2018, I was honored as an ACT College and Career Readiness Champion. And that was because of my work with helping thousands of students increase their ACT scores to achieve those college ready benchmarks, meaning their scores were high enough to be admitted into college. Here are a few students that I've worked with in the past, and you'll see that I'm 5-star rated in my program for helping students raise their ACT scores. Isaiah was a student that was stumped with the math, and he expresses that I was extremely patient and helpful in the program, that I allowed him to make mistakes and he appreciated that. My friendly manner made him more comfortable. McKenna says that I am a saint. She absolutely loves me. I was easy for her to work with, very thorough and kind, and she highly recommends me. And Mateo was a part of the cohort that I worked with in 2018 that I was honored for by the ACT. He was a part of a program at a school district that I held, and that program's the same system that I'll be going through today. He went through that system to raise his ACT scores, and then he was recruited to Duke University. He earned the score high enough to meet the NCAA eligibility requirements and be admitted into Duke University. And now he is well on his way to be an NFL athlete. He is now looking to be drafted into the NFL. So with that, let me introduce you to this 3-step ACE the ACT system. So what you need in order to overcome those 3 problems we discussed before, you need a new way, and that is the learning trifecta. All 3 items work together to make your child be successful on the ACT exam. So what we have is habits, environment, and strategy. Now, the 3-step system that I am going to show you is the actual strategy piece. But you'll see, you cannot have any of these 3 components alone. All 3 components work together. The most highly successful people on the planet have winning habits. And we all know that you have to have those habits in place in order to be successful. But just the habits alone, without strategy, will get you nowhere. And even having the strategy, you might get some strategies from your teachers at school, but just a few strategies without those winning strategies and without the habits and the environment, it's just not going to work. You have to have the environment piece as well. Small group, a collective, a team working together for a common goal so that you can feed off of each other's energy. That's that group synergy that you need. And so you need all 3 parts, the trifecta, working together. The habits, teaching you what you need to do routinely. And then the environment of people working together for that common goal. And then the strategy, the 3-step ACE the ACT system. That collective of pieces working together is how you get success. So what I need you to do is grab a pen and paper. You're going to want to take notes as I go into this 3-step system so that you can implement these things at the end of this training. So hopefully you have everything ready. Let's dive in. The first pillar, the first step is to familiarize. Familiarize. So most students do not engage in any test prep at all. And for the few that do, most of them begin with content. They begin with topics. They begin with the math information. As a result, They have no idea of the basic knowledge of the ACT, of the inner workings of the test itself. So on test day, they are overwhelmed with stressful directions that they don't know, have not heard of before, and they have improper time management. They are almost like a pilot that didn't study his or her flight plan in advance before going on a trip. An effective pilot would never do that, right? Or there would be like a sports team that doesn't study the upcoming opponent. All professional sports teams and even college and high school teams, they review film. They study their opponent in advance. They become familiar with what they're going up against. And so we need to familiarize. That's your first step. Your child really needs to know on an expert level knowledge of the ins and outs of the ACT test. They must become an expert in the exam. They can do this through learning the instructions and learning the test format in advance. Now, when they know this, then they have a plan and a clear route and a focus that will make the learning more straightforward. And then they become like a pilot who knows, hey, I'm starting at CLT and my destination is JFK. I know exactly how to get there, my flight plan, all the pieces. And then they can become like those successful athletes and coaches that study the game film, learn their opponent's plays and strategies, and then they can develop a plan to overcome their opponent. So that's step one, familiarize. The next pillar is to strategize. Pillar 2, strategize. So you know that schools and teachers have a curriculum to follow, which means they have to do things in a restrictive order with restrictive content, and there's little time to teach extra skills, especially not critical thinking. Every state has a required curriculum for its core high school courses. Every single state does. The unfortunate side of that is your state's curriculum may or may not perfectly align with the national learning standards that the ACT assesses. Teachers are required to complete their state curriculum within a certain time frame. Thus, they don't have time to incorporate, guaranteed, proven ACT success strategies. ACT preparation is just not the highest priority because they have a mandate to ensure state curriculum. And there's just little time to focus in on those strategies and problem-solving skills that are needed on the ACT. What you need your child to do is to build those problem-solving skills and learn effective ACT-specific success strategies. So when they encounter those problems on the exam, they can arrive at the correct answer and in a timely manner, even if they're not particularly strong in the subject of math. So just like those best sports teams on the planet, they prepare certain plays for specific game scenarios. So when those situations arise in the game or in real life, they are already prepared and confident to take the actions they need to take. It's all about strategy. And so pillar 2 is to strategize. After you familiarize, then you strategize. And the last step, pillar 3, is to emphasize. Emphasize. So we know in school that students are taught a wide range of topics. This is designed to transform them into well-rounded adults. And that is a good thing. That is great. But what happens is students get exposed to an array of content, and usually that only gives them a shallow and limited understanding. So they know a lot, but they know it on a shallow level. However, we know that the ACT is a national college entrance exam. It's based on standards from academic surveys of several shareholders, and they do this ever so often to determine what topics need to be on the test. The test is a time test, 2 hours and 55 minutes of actual testing time. And in that short time, they're assessing English, math, reading, and science. And if we break it down to just the math only, that's 60 minutes of math that's designed to assess the most important topics in math that colleges believe. They're assessing what you learn in high school that colleges think are most important. Now, think about this. High school teaches a wide variety of mathematical topics in those 4 years of high school. But this test can only assess for 60 minutes. So there is a limited amount of things that it can truly dive deep on. So you need to put an emphasis on those topics. You don't want to go into the test knowing a little about a lot of things when you can focus on knowing deeply and drilling down, putting an emphasis on those key topics that we know are going to be on the test. And that's what you need to do. You need to place emphasis and focus on those ACT math topics that show up frequently. We do this through building deep mathematical skills of those topics that we know routinely, every single test, they are on there. And you practice using official ACT released math exam questions. This is going to allow your child to build confidence, give them experience, and it allows us to continuously identify any weaknesses in the math content. So when the time comes on test day, they know what to do. So when it comes down to taking the ACT, it's not better. It's better not to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. What you want to do instead is to become a master of those required math topics, and you do that by placing a heavy emphasis on those areas. So quickly, let's recap the 3-step system again. Step 1 was to familiarize. That's where you're becoming an expert in the ACT, formatting, test instructions, setup, everything, knowing that test inside and out. Familiarize, becoming an expert. Number 2, strategize, cleverly learning guaranteed ACT success strategies. That's pillar 2, implementing those strategies. And then the third step, the last step, is to emphasize. And that is where you focus in on those topics that you know are going to be assessed on the test, drilling down, focusing on those specific areas. Emphasize. So here are what a few parents who previously had their children in the program have said. You can hear from Christine and Lisa and Michelle. And Michelle's daughter was struggling with the math that was on the ACT, and she was really having a hard time with the trig. And we learned that from focusing in on those topics and diagnosing her areas of weakness or areas where she could grow. And we discovered that it was trigonometry. So as a result of being in the program, She improved that skill to raise her ACT score, and she even earned an A in her trig class. Michelle rates my effort and my knowledge as an A+, and she recommends me with her highest recommendations. So I want to congratulate you for sticking to this training and listening and taking notes all the way until this point. You're an awesome parent who wants to put your child in the best opportunity to move forward and achieve the ACT scores of their dreams. Congratulations to you. And I just want to remind you of that agreement. If you're still here, I know right now that you made the commitment to take action. So let's have a serious chat about how your child can start getting the guidance and the help they need to raise their ACT math score. And together we can build out a clear roadmap so they know exactly what to focus on. If this makes sense, then we can talk about what it would look like for us to work together. Because ultimately in life, there are always three choices. We can engage in guesswork, where we're not really sure what to do. We're just trying to figure it out, so we guess. Or we can engage in hard work, which we know will eventually get us there, but we might not get there the smartest way, but the hardest way through hard work. Or we can use a proven framework and follow a system designed to get us around the roadblocks and make it easier for us to get to our successful destination. And the three-step ACE, the ACT system, is just that, a proven framework to raise your child's ACT math scores by 5 points or higher. And you see these three here, they have something in common. Michael Jordan is arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. And he had a coach with the teams that he played for. But beyond his coach of his basketball teams, he also worked with coaches and specialists in every area of his life in order to develop a system, a proven framework in order to guarantee his success. Of course, he worked hard, but beyond working hard, he worked smart, following a system. Jeff Bezos, Oprah Winfrey, all three of these people, they are extremely successful. And yes, we know they worked hard, but they followed a system for success. They know exactly what to do on each day in order to maximize their efforts. So they followed a system, proven frameworks, so that they can be successful. So what I'd like for you to do is book in a time for a game plan for your success session. I have spaces available. This is absolutely free. There's nothing for you to buy on the call. You couldn't buy anything even if you wanted to. Schedule a time for your game plan for success session for your child so that they can ace the ACT and raise their math score by 5 points or higher. Thank you for staying here in this training and learning so much with me today. I look forward to speaking with you soon.